I mean, by all accounts, pretty young when I was diagnosed. I was 23 years old. I had just graduated university. I had traveled around the world for 6 months, gotten into my first career, really in the adult stage of my life. And then I got cold symptoms. Nothing I couldn't handle. I've had a cold before. We all have. The cold turned into what I thought maybe was a flu. So I went to my family doctor and I said, I have these symptoms. What do you think it is? He said, it's probably a flu, maybe with your childhood asthma coming back. So like we all do, I listened to my family doctor and I went home. And then over the next week, I got progressively worse. So it got to a point where I couldn't walk up my stairs without being short of breath. I would lie down, but I would cough all night. So I wouldn't be able to sleep. I would have to sleep at the kitchen table.
Wow.
And so then when the chest pain started, that's when I said, it's probably time for a second opinion. So I went into the emergency department and they did a bunch of tests on me, a few that I've had before. I've had an x-ray before, I've had blood work before, then a few that were really new to me. ECG, I had no idea what that was. An echo, I've never done an echo before. So they explained that to me. And then after about 4 hours in the emergency department, the physician came in and he said, he had a pretty serious look on his face. He said, you have dilated cardiomyopathy. I said, what is that? He said, your heart is failing. Okay. And it was a shock. My first question was, am I going to die? And he said, no, but you have a lot of work to do. And that was really the beginning of my heart failure experience. And, there's surprisingly a lot of people that do have that, not misdiagnosis maybe, but, being wrongfully diagnosed potentially because of age, whatever it may be. And that was my experience and my start for heart failure. So I was young. I mean, what about yourself? How did your diagnosis experience go?
It's really interesting to hear what you were saying, because my story was very similar to yours, and diagnosis of dilated cardiomyopathy. By that time, when I was actually couldn't hold of my symptoms anymore, and I had to rush to the emergency saying, this is not right. And when they attached the ECG, I could hear my heart was like just going like beep, 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 beep. It was around 160, I think. So the nurses were like going mad, because it was like, what's going on? Like, this young lady, she's looking like healthy, but her heart is just uncontrollable. So my experience was the same. I was a healthy person, doing all the things I wanted to do at that time, traveling, working hard, studying. And then suddenly I had a cough. The one symptom, which I obviously would relate to the cold symptom as well at the same time. But then I was just trying to kind of smooth it down with the teas, with the ginger, honey, and it could help for like 2 days, but then come back again after a couple of days. And it just went stronger and stronger. And then I start feeling shortness of breath and weakness. I start gaining weight. It kind of built it up slowly. So for me, like, it didn't raise a particular question and be like, oh, what is this? I thought, oh, maybe I didn't sleep, or maybe, I'm tired, or maybe this and that, or maybe it's a stress even. So I will kind of push it to something else.
Yeah.
I went actually to GP for the symptoms, because they weren't going away, and I was living with it for a couple of months. So when I went to the GP, he checked it and he was telling me, you don't have to worry about anything, it's normal. Just take this kind of medication. It will soothe your symptoms. And I would take it for a week, but the symptoms won't go away. Yeah. So I will go back again to the GP saying, okay, this doesn't work. Can you check or just give me different medication? Do I need antibiotics by then? Because, maybe it's like a bacteria or infection. I have no idea. And they were like, oh, okay, just change the medication and then come back, again, if it doesn't go away. And of course it didn't go away. I got treated for the symptoms, but not for the cause. So it was a long journey back and forward, but I could see like the similarity between you and me, that we were young, and we kind of misdiagnosed, because we look healthy, but our hearts weren't far away from healthy. So I think at that point it's very important especially for the younger patients, for the younger people who are, probably like feeling some symptoms and they're not sure if they could need to seek help. So I really encourage to do so, because, you don't want to wait until the end of the point, because like you and me now, we already have the heart transplant and, kind of living a new life now.
Yeah, I mean, no one really expects it at all, but especially when you're younger, and there's always a fear of even maybe something being wrong. But you're right. Younger people have to get checked if they feel something, especially with their heart. I agree. It was difficult at first, I would say, because I thought that heart failure was going to be the end of me. Of course, it was life-changing, and there's changes that you have to make along the way. And like I said, I had just entered the next stage of my life. So one of the most difficult parts through heart failure, because we all go through ups and downs, as I'm sure you did, where some days you're feeling really great and you could conquer the world. Other days, all you can do is maybe lie in bed and sleep, close your eyes, because you feel so tired or you're in pain, whatever it may be. So it's always keeping your life on hold. Mm-hmm. And I think that was one of the challenges for me through heart failure, was because I was young and I thought I had all these opportunities, which I did in front of me, that I was going to be held back. But early on in my diagnosis, I was very fortunate. My cardiologist, Dr. Sean Varani, he had introduced me to two other people with lived experience. One person that had a heart transplant, one person that was living with an LVAD. And they just had a conversation with me about the lives they were living. And so it was really at that point that I realized that I can live the life I want, albeit maybe a little bit differently, with heart failure, and still have a good quality of life. I just have to do things a little bit differently. So then there were challenges, but there's definitely opportunities to help overcome them.
I remember when I was introduced to the heart transplant patient, the lady was living with LVAD for 6 months. And then as soon as 6 months kind of came, she got the donor and she got a heart transplant. At the time I was in the hospital, just kind of going through the process of getting the LVAD. And I remember when she walked into my room in the hospital, I literally started crying. And she was like, "Why are you crying?" And I said to her, I was like, "You look like a normal, healthy person." And she was like, "Well, I am." Because in my mind, without not knowing, understanding the person who lives with an LVAD or person who is heart transplanted should look in a different way, or should be in a different way, And when I saw that, like, she's that person who's smiling, who has like red cheeks, is healthy and in good spirits. And I was just like, oh, wow, like, you know what? There is hope. And it actually opened my eyes. So I think it's very important to speak to someone who is going through the same experience as you are.
Yeah, I mean, and then you said the one word is hope, right? Because people have to have hope that they can live the quality of life they deserve and they want. And I mean, I think we're living proof of that. I mean, we're here, we're healthy, we're smiling. So it's, we've gone through the hurdles, but there is, of course, light at the end of the tunnel. I would say that being diagnosed with heart failure, going through the challenges, having almost died more than a dozen times, having the heart transplant really puts things into perspective, where you don't, take things for granted, where you get to enjoy everything that you do, because really it is a gift that we have. And, I would say one of the biggest changes was starting the Heartlife Foundation in 2016 with Jillian Code. Mm-hmm. It was the year her and I met at it was a national roundtable in Canada, where it was really the first time that stakeholders from different areas were talking about heart failure. And I remember clearly one of the stats came on the screen. There was over 690,000 people living with heart failure in Canada. I think that number is over 750,000 now. 90,000 new diagnoses every year. But it's an invisible disease, so nothing was being done about it. And Jillian and I looked at each other and I said, how come we are the only two people with heart failure at the table? Where are other people getting support? And so we decided to start the Heartlife Foundation. And that really changed me, changed my life in what I do. And we've been operating since 2016. We have members across the country. We have networks globally, such as a Global Heart Hub. I think the first time I met you, we were in Ireland. That was my first meeting out there, which was amazing.
Yes.
And, the people that we've met and been able to work with and some of the change that we've been able to accomplish in the heart failure and cardiovascular space, I really wouldn't change it for anything. I think that's really what drives me forward now. I mean, I can imagine, like you with the Lithuanian Heart Society, right? Being so young and being put into that role. And now with Global Heart Hub, even more.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And that involvement, like I know from myself, from my experience when I was diagnosed, I was trying to look for information, to see who the people are living and where's the patient advocacy, why there's no messaging, why there's no information and no community. And for me, the most important thing when I was diagnosed was to make sure I speak up. So the younger generation, like you and me, and even the older ones, are aware of their heart health. They go and check their heart health every year. And the most importantly, that, they take action towards it to kind of avoid heart failure in the future. So for me, that was very important. And that kind of led me, for me speaking up, it led me to like patient advocacy. And now I'm getting involved into not only my Lithuanian Heart Failure Association, but as well as Global Heart Hub. So that's a big journey. There's a lot of work to do. And I know Heart Life Foundation does a lot of work in Canada and globally as well, supporting. And I think for us talking right now as well, it's an opportunity for other patients to share their stories and give an impact to society, to other patients, and to the community. So I think that's very important as well.
I couldn't agree more. And I mean, I think collectively, I mean, our impact is just that much greater. And then we get to learn from each other what other people are doing around the world, and we get to implement it wherever we are. That's a great question. That's a really good question. There's a lot. I think there's many things. I think one of the most important ones is, and I go back to this, that there is hope to live the quality of life that you deserve with the right tools, self-management, medication, care team, and then support network of people who are living with the disease that you can talk to, that can share experiences. You can live the life you deserve. And I think that's important to know, because a lot of people think about heart failure in a negative connotation, just that failure itself, right?
Absolutely.
But it's time to overcome that, to say that, yes, I have a heart failure, but I can still do well with it. And I think that's important to know.
Absolutely. I think just in terms in generally, globally, and I know very strongly in Lithuania, it's like, I have a disease, it's very negative. Like you can't barely do anything in society, like you're out of society basically if you have disease. But I think with our examples, with you and me, with other patients as well, sharing their stories, we can really break the stance. I know I do that in Lithuania. I speak publicly, I go into the TV shows and I give the interviews for the articles, because yes, I look the way I look, but I am a heart transplant patient. I was living with a heart failure for 6 years. And, I want people to be aware and kind of create that empathy as well towards the people, because we don't know what happens inside of people. So that's why I think we have to be respectful and kind to everyone. And that's my message from my side.
I love it. Well, I had a lot of positive moments, as a patient myself, where I was able to, bounce back, as I call it, after some of my worst down periods, where I was able to get back to work. And I remember being able to travel again, and I love to travel. And so that was an important part of who I was and helped me overcome my fears with heart failure. As a patient, that was great for me, because I was doing the things I wanted, like I said, differently, because now when I was traveling, I had to look up local hospitals and where I could go for care if I needed it, but I was still able to do it. And, I think as an advocate and with Heart Life, I think one of the greatest moments is, being awarded from the World Heart Federation the Effective Voice of the Year for our patient charter. I think it's something that's so important, that it doesn't matter where you live, who you are, what your gender is. that you have the care you deserve for heart failure, that everyone has the same care and it's the best care possible. Absolutely. I think those are some key ones for me. What about you? That's a tough question.
Well, first of all, congratulations on the award.
Oh, thank you.
It's just such a good work. It's absolutely, worth it. Absolutely, 100%. For me, a positive experience, that's a good question as well. Probably the first one which comes to my mind is that, myself, as the outlook to life has changed, and the perspective and values. And I really appreciate that through this kind of hard experience, which I had with heart failure. I really just changed the way I see life and what my goals can be at that point. And I completely moved to patient advocacy, and where I am right now at 100%, and that's what I want to do in the future, because I want to raise the awareness of heart failure. I want to kind of protect patients. I know I can't protect everyone, but at least I can share my message and I can encourage other patients to get checked and take care of their health. And even the younger, generation, just to do these little lifestyle changes which would impact their future. It doesn't matter if it's heart failure or not heart failure, just health in general. Because what I understood, that if I don't have health, I can't do anything in life, because I'm just in bed, not feeling well. It's just kind of being, unuseful. Like, you're just in bed and you can't really do anything you want, anything you planned in the future. So I think, and I know that the health is the most important thing, and we have to prioritize in a different way as many people prioritize nowadays. So there were a few definitely positive aspects and positive learnings that I could take. One is,
if you have a family caregiver, make sure that person is taking care of themselves as well, because sometimes they're too busy taking care of us that they don't take care of themselves. That's important. The second one is to always stay active. As tired as you may be, even if it's a walk around the house or up the block and back, always stay just a little bit active, because I think it always makes you feel a little bit better.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more with you. Physical activity is very important. And it's beneficial to our health.
Yeah. And I would say one more, sorry, is don't be afraid to have heart failure, to share it and to talk about it, because there's probably people out there like you that are scared to talk about it, or are waiting for somebody else, like someone like you and I to talk about it and bring it to the forefront. So share your story. Absolutely. Share your story.
Don't be afraid to do that. Yeah, I think I would add that, we are unique. All people living with a heart failure, they are unique. Their stories are unique, and they're very valuable, and they can bring so much more to some people and some patients and society in general, friends and family, who can actually learn and take something in life and make some certain changes. I would like to add two more things on top of your list. Advices.
I'm sure if we got together, we would have a big list.
I'm sure, yes. I would say try to stay positive, like, as much as you can. We have a low lows, high highs. It's absolutely normal to have that. Don't push yourself to stay positive all the time. It's okay to have, really sad days and very energetic days. But staying and keeping your mind positive and having a hope to see in the future and live in the future, that is very important as well. I would like to highlight.
Yeah, I mean, and you bring up a good point, because I think mental health is often overlooked. People always think about the physical health and heart failure, but you have to take care of yourself mentally as well. It's a very good point.
Absolutely. So thank you, Marc, for taking time and talking.
Thank you.
And sharing your experience and sharing your advices. They're very valuable. Thank you for your time, and I wish you health and I'm looking forward to speak to you again soon.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care.